Hey, in this short lesson, we're just going to be looking at how you can start building a cabin in 3D Studio. Now, whether it's a log cabin like the one you're seeing on your screen or a walled cabin like the one you're seeing here, they'll both have similar ideas and concepts. Now, before you get started, what you may want to do is try and find some sort of reference. Okay, whether that is, you can see here, a simple log cabin, or so there's simple log cabins here. Here's maybe a simple one that you could build, whether it's a modern log cabin. So you'll notice that these, and this might have been a reference for one of my students, here's a modern log cabin, but find one that maybe you're interested in making and that you feel like you could actually make. There's also modern cabins. So modern cabins more are walled cabins and not logs. So that's more similar to this style here for a modern cabin, or you can even see there's another style right here. This is a pretty cool looking modern one as well. And the last search that I have here is just fancy cabin. So if you wanted to do some sort of fancy cabin and you felt like you had the skills and qualities to make that happen, that could be really, really cool. So in order to get started, you just have to start building. Now, the big thing you need to know is duplicating is your very, very, very best friend. Okay, and also these different views are going to be really, really helpful for you. So for a log cabin, I'm just going to start building a wall, and I'll show you how duplicating is helpful, but I won't go much beyond just giving you the ideas. So another reminder for you is you must have the angle snap toggle activated. That's a huge, huge, huge item, so that when you lay down your walls, they're at 90 degrees. When you rotate them, they're at 90 degrees. So log cabins, as you know, are made out of spheres. Doesn't matter which view you build it in. I'm just going to build, sorry, not spheres, cylinders. I'm just going to go ahead and build a cylinder. And I'm going to lay it down. So I'm going to go to my rotate tool and rotate this 90 degrees. You can see it's rotating until it hits 90 degrees down. Now, duplicating is awesome. So what you might want to do is use one of your side views here in order to duplicate your wall upwards. So if I go to the move tool and I hold down shift, we've done duplicating before, and I move this up, you can duplicate. Now here's another even beautiful thing. It has a number of copies here. You can actually make more copies. And what will that do? That will actually give you them spaced out the way that you want them to be spaced out. So there we go. So there we've got ourselves a wall. Now the beauty of this is to start laying out your actual floor plan, you could use the top-down view. So if we went to your top-down view, and typically you want to have your wireframe on, I don't have wireframe here just to help you out a little bit, but if I select the entire wall from above, I could duplicate it, I could hit OK, I could even rotate it, right? Rotate it 90 degrees. So from above, you can kind of set up your floor plan really slick, really easily. It's more accurate. So you'll notice here that by duplicating, these walls are going to be in line perfectly. The other thing you can do is from the top-down view is scale these. If I went to my scale tool, I can make this wall longer, right? And then I could move it however I want to. I could duplicate that wall, and you could imagine pretty quickly how you could have a floor plan kind of like this one, right? That has some parts popping out. So duplicated wall, duplicated upwards. We'll talk about the windows in just a second, but that's kind of how you'd start making a log cabin. Now, in addition, making the floor, you could do a similar type of thing. So if I wanted to make a floor, let's say this was an L-shaped cabin here, the floor could just be made out of a box. I'm just going to make it from the top-down view. So there we go. You can see from the perspective view the thickness of it, so if you needed to scale it down, you could. You can even see from the top-down view that maybe it's slightly, in this particular case, a little bit too wide, a little bit too far to the left, so you can pull out our scale tool, and very quickly we can actually piece this in the right location. And same thing about duplicating. If you've got a unique floor plan, let's say I had an L-shaped floor plan here, which I'm not going to finish, I would duplicate this floor. So there we go. Because then it's the same thickness, it's on the same plane, and then you could just scale it. So I'm going to scale it narrower, maybe like this as well, move it into place, and there would be an L-shaped floor plan. And I could even make a little indent or an outdent for a fireplace if I wanted to. So that floor can be applied to all of your floor plans, whether it's a log cabin or a modern cabin. So this could be some part of my floor plan, or maybe I'm going to put in a fireplace for my floor. So you'll notice that in the perspective view, really quickly I can make walls and I can make floor plans kind of laid out really, really nicely and slickly. Now, other things you're going to want to consider is, do you want to have decks and different things like that? So you might have a deck, you might have some posts outside, but duplicating is going to be one of your very, very best friends. So this one's pretty cool, and it's got a deck out there, and so on and so forth. So imagining how you could do that is important. Lastly, before I get into the walled houses, I do want to quickly point out how you can make windows in your log cabin. Windows in your log cabin are most easily done. There's other ways to do it, but most easily done by just creating holes. So if I use my scale tool and I scale this shorter on my x-axis, so there's a log right there, and then I can duplicate it across. There we go. And if you wanted to, you could take both of those logs and duplicate them downwards, and all of a sudden you've got this hole where you can put a window pane. And I'll show lessons on window panes and that type of those types of things in future lessons. So that's how you can make windows in your log cabin. Now, walled cabins are virtually identical to how you make log cabins, except you have to do something different for the windows. So I won't talk about that in this lesson, but really quickly, if you're making a wall, so here's a walled cabin. So you can see in my perspective view, I've got a nice wall for my cabin, so there it is. And then I can once again, duplicate is your very, very, very best friend. So if you want to make a wall, there we go. There's a duplicate. We could rotate it to 90 degrees again. Make sure your angle snap toggle is on, and you can place it wherever you want it to be, and you can duplicate that wall again, etc., etc. Okay? So that's how to kind of start the floors and walls of your floor plan. And in another lesson, I'll show you how to make windows as well as how to make the roof in a nice and simple way.